Zach.
Hey guys.
Zach, here he is.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
Am I coming in through okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can.
Perfect.
Can
Awesome.
you hear us okay?
Thanks,
Yeah.
Julie.
How are we
Yes,
coming in?
I can
Okay.
hear you guys. Yeah.
All right. You can hear the guitars?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear both of you guys.
Okay.
How's it going, bud?
This
How's
is
it
our
going?
friend Phil,
Nice to
Okay,
meet you,
so-
Phil.
superstar
Nice to meet you too, man.
extraordinaire.
Yeah. I'm going to introduce Phil officially in a few minutes. Going to wait for a few more people to come in. How's things going, Zach?
Good. Can't complain. Just been working, gigging a little bit more and doing all that stuff. So been having a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Living the
Nice.
life.
Yeah. It's been pretty fun. How about you guys?
Good. Busy. Well, actually, we just
Summertime.
it's summertime. We just got back from our weekly vacation
Yearly,
on
not
Lake Squam.
weekly.
Yearly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We don't go every
we
week.
took a week on Lake Squam. So
Nice.
it was kind of tough to take, falling asleep listening to the loons sing at us.
Oh, I'm sure that was hard. Yeah.
It was hard. Yeah, I can
dreamy.
sure you could feel my pain.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, nice. Do you guys end up? You're still doing the like that guitar summer weekly event that you guys do at Berkeley too, right? Is that something that you guys end up doing?
So that's guitar sessions. That's
Yes.
happening
11 through 16.
August 11 through 16.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, tell me this: Are you going to be coming in the fall, or are you doing online in the fall?
I'm doing online.
Okay.
Significantly cheaper, so that's the route I'm going to be taking.
Yeah.
now.
I love Berkeley Online for my master's.
Yeah. One of the other guys that does teaching around here, Andrew, he did Berkeley Online. He got his bachelor's from it too, and he has nothing but good things to say. He took lessons from Bruce Bartlett, I think,
Okay.
and
Oh,
he
he's
The
great.
man.
Yeah.
liked him a
Bruce,
lot,
Bruce
yeah.
was incredible.
The man.
Where are you from, Zachary?
I'm from Florida, a couple
where you are
hours
now?
north of. Yeah.
How's the weather? Kind of hot right now?
Oh my gosh. So it's always funny the way that the weather works in Florida. It's like it's always pretty much hot, but and usually just about every other time besides the summer, it's completely dry. And then now it's just like rain every single day. So it is
Oh.
just no rain for almost the whole year and then just nothing but a like flood. So
Too
it's
much,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
What part of Florida you said?
Sarasota, it's like an hour down from Tampa.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some friends of mine moved down there temporarily in the wintertime, and they play on Siesta Key.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, which
Siesta
is
Key's
there's
like
a lot of opportunities for music, and it's a good
there's a
music
lot
area.
of
it
gigs
sounds
around
like,
there.
yeah.
It's a lot. It's a really fun area overall, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, there's Liam.
Liam, welcome to
Yay.
Guitar Club.
Hey, Liam.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good.
We're
How
great.
you doing, man?
Good. So, okay, so this is Fil Ramil. So I've known Phil for 30 years?
I studied with John at Berkeley
Yeah.
in 19.
So, so Phil is a really well, like, up in the New England area here. He's, he's one of those staple musicians that kind of everybody knows about. Plays guitar so well, sings his butt off. And the connection to, he studied with me years and years ago, and, really what that experience was like. He would come in and play his butt off, and I just go, okay, good, yeah, keep doing that.
Well, that's not entirely true. He
But-
taught me a lot.
Yeah, so Phil and I play in a band together called No Static, which is a Steely Dan tribute band. So Phil does a fair amount of the lead guitar work, sings the vast majority of the lead vocals in the band. Here's Dustin. Hi, Dustin.
Dustin,
Hello, guys.
Hey, Dustin.
welcome.
Yeah. So anyway, in the process of working together and sort of reconnecting after all these years, like Phil and I have sort of gotten in, it's been cool to play in a band with him, because first of all, playing the music that I just have always felt really close to. Steely Dan is, if somebody asked me what my desert island, if I could only play in one band for the rest of my life, it would be either Steely Dan or the Allman Brothers. So to play in a Steely Dan tribute band, for me is very much the I guess the next best thing. And you know, and to be fair, there's so many other things that Phil does. So Phil, tell us.
Tell us your story.
Oh,
your
well,
stories.
I don't want to, yeah. So, well, first of all, everybody on this call and who's going to see this video knows what a legend in the guitar world that John and
John
of course, you know, yeah,
Finn,
and Julie, of course, now the Double Trouble amazing team here, these guys. I was just saying about, I was checking out, I didn't know a lot of Julie's music, and I took some time this week knowing I was coming on here. Excuse my voice, getting over a little thing, but anyway, Julie, I just am so impressed,
Thank
and the
you.
two of you together is just incredible. So I'm just happy to be here. For John to say those things to me, having studied with him, and knowing not only what a talent but what a great human being he is as well. I'm getting a little emotional because I never thought I would even be, you know, this guy wants to be in a band with me.
Oh.
Right? So I'm just like, I'm just flattered beyond words. And every single time, no, I mean, none of this is fabricated. It's just honest. Every single time we get together or take the stage, it feels so great to me. And everybody on this call who's going to see this call as a guitar player knows there's some musicians that you play with that it's almost like they kind of suck something. They either suck something out of you, you know, or you get so much, right?
They
Like,
pour
you know,
in.
we've all been the worst musician on the stage and the best musician on the stage, right?
Yeah.
And somewhere in between. And it's like with John having the history and just listening and learning all the time from what he does and how he approaches the instrument, the master that he is. It's just extremely rewarding for me. I'm not a full-time musician, disclaimer. I was for a long time. I put out 2 records. I had a record contract in Europe in the early 2000s. I've taught at schools. I was on the faculty of Dana Hall School here in Wellesley, Mass. That was
Nice.
quite a while ago. I've had a very interesting career in music. I played in a lot of the main, you know, general business type of commercial bands around Boston, as well as, you know, solo gigs. I mean, now I just freelance, and I
see
love
you
that.
gigging all the time.
Yeah, and I love that because you know, and there's nothing wrong with being in a thing, right? In a regular thing, you know, you're gigging, you're either in a cover band or a tribute band or an original band, whatever you're doing. But for me, it's really rewarding to play with so many musicians and get the calls for so many keeps music fresh for me. I mean, you know, about guitar, but
Well, you're our guest, so you
well,
get
all
to
right.
talk
Well,
about
well,
what you
one of
want.
my favorite.
Exactly.
I agree with John. Steely Dan, definitely Desert Island. You know, that'll be a tough one. My background, I did graduate from Berkeley in the late '90s, and what I was going to say is like one of the things about music that I've always been fascinated with music since I was just a little boy. My mother said I used to sing in my stroller when I was, you know, 3
Aw,
years old. But
I love
but
that.
but one of the things about how do I say this? We all remember the David Letterman band, the Paul Schaefer band
Yes.
with Anton Fig and Will Lee. That was honestly my favorite band ever. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like, because if I could be in a band,
That
if
would
you
be
gave
the
me,
band.
yeah, like to be able to be here 30 years playing with Will Lee and Paul Schaefer and Anton, James Brown and Sly Stone,
Everybody.
and so one night they'd be playing with like a country artist and just perfect with a pedal steel, and the next night they'd be playing with like an R&B artist, and the next night they'd be playing with like a almost like a metal guy or a punk guy. Like, I know that most musicians are not like that. A lot of people get in a bag. You know, they're a telly twang chicken picker, or they're a metal shredder guy, or I'm just one of those. I want to do it all. I want to
Yeah.
play classical nylon string. I want to play Americana. I want to play metal. Like, one of my favorite guitar players is Michael Schenker from the band UFO. You know, I just worship the guy. And of course, I'm a huge, you know, Zeppelin, Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix. You know, I love to just rock. I love to rock. So, but I love to jazz. I love Benson and Wes Montgomery. And so I'm just like a sponge for everything. And it probably doesn't serve me all that well because I do too many things and I get lost. I'd be better served to almost focus and do one thing. And my friends that I play music with, they're like, we get together. I have like a trio with a couple of friends, and we get together. And like, what are we gonna do? Everything. I want to
Do
do
it
it
all.
all.
I love
and then
that.
and my friend like Tom Appleman, my friend, you know, we've been playing for decades. He said we. For this thing down, Phil. Like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna make it? What are we gonna focus on? Are we gonna do like more of an R&B funk thing? We're gonna do more of a rock thing. So, I have trouble focusing because it's just all so interesting to me. So, it's
Yeah.
great to meet everybody out there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's something that you and I kind of have in common. You know, because anytime I've ever been interviewed about like what kind of style that you know, like are you most into, the answer that I often give is that for me, music falls into two categories: stuff I like, stuff I don't. I like, you know, really pretty much kinds of different style. And what I find funny about it is that I agree that at some point it's good to sort of decide what it is you're going to be good at, and maybe decide that you can't be good at everything. However, you know, to me, like when I listen to the, you know, to the difference between a swing tune versus a blues tune, very often, I don't hear that much difference. You know, I mean, you know, you guys all know I wrote a tune years ago, If Stevie Ray Vaughan Went to Berkeley and Studied Jazz. And that was kind of what I was thinking when I wrote the
Combine the
tune,
two.
was that the two styles really aren't all that different, you know. And literally all I did when I wrote the tune was I just kind of made it like a standard 12-bar blues followed by the B section of a song called Take the A Train. You know,
Right on.
and not exactly, but kind of like, but if you kind of put those two things together, you know, it doesn't it doesn't sound anywhere near as incongruous as you would expect. You know, so and you know, calling it that was just my you know, me being shall we say irreverent.
Yeah, and I think that are the other folks on the call, Dustin, Liam, and Zachary? Are you all sort
Great
of
players.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering though, like what kind of because I'm curious to know about the folks we have on here. Like, are you all are they Berkeley people or trained or school? Like, what are some of your backgrounds? I don't know, Dustin, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So my background is not Berkeley, as a matter of fact. I come from a background of I went to Hartwick College in Oneonta for a degree in audio engineering and also guitar performance. Somewhere along the line, I saw John perform on YouTube, as you do, in Chet Atkins style. I believe it was Sleigh Ride, the video.
Oh yeah,
The sleigh ride.
that
The sleigh ride video. Yep. And then I went down the rabbit hole of, you know,
Days.
getting his
Yeah, sleigh ride.
albums and you know, studying his work. And then somewhere along the line during COVID, we started doing this guitar club and got to be part of it. So that's my background.
so your background and your performance degree, did you have to learn some classical and some jazz and some different? I mean, did you did they make you kind of run the gamut stylistically?
Yeah, so I actually started like when I went to college to study guitar. I was more of a rock player, you know, like U2 was my thing, and then I met a very wonderful professor, Orlando Lenyame, may he rest in peace, who is the guy who taught me how to engineer audio and also introduced me to the Eddie Van Halen school of guitar and the Led Zeppelin
Right.
guitar.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I was studying classical guitar and I was studying Segovia and I was studying Django Reinhardt. I know that's not classical, but you know, the professor was teaching me that sort of stuff, whereas Orlando was teaching me, you know, Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and 70s rock, that sort of stuff. So I understand what you're saying about the stylistic gamut. It's all the same
Yeah,
sort of
and
thing. Just
I think we all
spoken in
and
different
Zachary
ways.
yeah. So So Liam, are you also come from a lot of different, I mean, did you learn a lot of different styles when you first,
Yeah, so
were going, or when you were learning, or like your background, or were you more of a, are you more of a specific genre kind of guy?
no, I'm like all over the place. So, um, I mean, I guess Eddie Van Halen was like the gateway to I want to play guitar, and then, although I never really learned a ton of
Right.
his stuff, because by
Pretty
the
high
time
bar.
I started playing, I was moving into like Iron Maiden and early Metallica. So this is like, mid 80s and stuff like that. So, and then I got into a lot of progressive metal and stuff like that. But I love everything. Like John says, like Steely Dan's great, the Allman Brothers rule, Zeppelin, everything from even like the heaviest thing might be Obscura to to the lightest thing might be like Stevie Wonder, or just everything. But I'm kind of, I started with progressive metal bands when I was, just kind of coming up. So that was like my first band, and then it kind of morphed. Like I was in like a blues rock kind of band at one point, and then another sort of progressive kind of poppy band for a little bit in Boston.
So a lot of technical playing.
Yeah, a little bit, but some of it was pretty. It kind of depended. Some stuff was a little technical, but a lot of it was. It was more the keyboard player wrote like pretty much all the music for that.
Right.
So I just try to, which was kind of cool because it was a nice challenge to try to, figure out where my place was in that. So when it's all keyboard heavy, it's like, okay, what am I gonna do that's, different? So, but most recently, I've just been kind of writing my own
but the
stuff
stuff
that can be heavy. It can be. I've got stuff that's kind of. There's a guy. Have you heard of Jamie Holka? Do you know this guy? He's a Berkeley guy,
No.
actually. I guess he went to Berkeley, but he's like in upstate New York. But he just did an album with Rondinelli, who I forget the guy's first name. He's a drummer. He played with like Blue Oyster Cult and Rainbow at one
Oh,
point.
Bobby Rondinelli.
Yeah, yeah,
The guy from
Yeah, he was in the band Rainbow. I think.
Bobby
Yeah, yeah.
Rondinelli from
Yeah,
Rainbow.
incredible drummer.
yeah. So he just released an album. So that if you listen to that album, that's kind of the stuff that I've been doing more recently. So I wouldn't call it jazz, but it's more, more
More rock
more
oriented.
interesting chords than just like power chords and technical kind of
Right.
stuff. So
Yeah. See, it sounds like Liam has a little more focused than at least for me anyway.
Well,
So
I mean,
.
like I've heard him play a lot. He can, like there's an awful lot of range, but the impression I get, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like, his primary focus right now is it seems to be about like, developing musicianship and right. Do we keep freezing up on you guys?
yeah, it froze up a little bit when you.
Okay.
I didn't hear everything you said.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we have, Zachary. What about yourself? What stylistically genre? Like, what are you kind of all over the place too, or are you kind of more focused on doing a specific thing?
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. Kind of like pretty much everyone else, I think, honestly. When I started, it was actually to pick up an acoustic guitar because I was really into folk guitar, like Jim Croce and like Gordon Lightfoot and even Glenn Campbell and that sort of stuff. So I wanted to get really good at finger picking. And so I picked that up, and my dad was teaching me that sort of stuff. But it's the same way because me and my dad have this running joke that pretty much, like in a given room, we're the two people that probably get bored the easiest because we always want to go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, because there's always something interesting from everything. And John pretty much nails it on the head with the just two types of music, what you like and what you don't like. Because every time, like I have students, and if I have new students and I ask them like, what kind of music are you interested in? And they always have that like, I don't really know. It's pretty much the same answer where they're like, yeah, whatever sounds good. So, it's pretty much the same way for me. I start off that, got into classic rock, like Led Zeppelin and Van Halen, like these guys are talking about. and then just a little bit of everything. Like when I was starting off taking lessons with John, I like never even did anything with like jazz and that sort of stuff, and I got introduced to that and I loved it, you know. So it was pretty much I feel like I'm pretty open to whatever. It's tasteful and it's good, I like it.
And John's more of a jazzer than he'd care to admit, by the way.
That might be true. You
He's
know,
so
I-
humble about it, though. He's always like, I'm not very good at jazz.
Well, it's
Then he's
kind
like,
of like, I've always felt like, you know, I'm kind of more like a jazz hobbyist than a real.
Oh,
you know,
you can play, man.
But you know, but you know what? That's one of the things that I think about a lot is that, and I'm you know I'm editorializing about my own personal opinion about this, is that I you know, because I'm interested in a lot of different styles, I just stop worrying about it and instead just try to make the music that speaks to me. And now, and you know, of course, Julie knows this too. Is that as that happens, I'm actually struggling with it. There's a tune that I wrote a couple of weeks ago, and the tune itself is like super simple. It has like 3 chords, and just like a
and
really
the truth, 3 chords and the truth.
not even, you know.
It
not even.
lies.
I'm lying the whole way. But
Dang it.
you know, but I mean, it's a really simple chord progression, really simple melody, and I struggled with it for weeks because it was like, well, no, there's got to be more. And finally, I played it for the drummer in our band, and he said, you know what your problem is you're, you know, is you're not allowing the song to be simple, and he was totally right. You know, so that's a case where I just need to let the song be really simple.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that goes back to like, so, and thank you guys for, I always like to get to, you know, we're all here together, right? So I always want to
Yeah,
get to
yeah.
know who's here, but it goes back to, you could play over these crazy complicated chord progressions, a song like Invitation or, you
Right.
know, or Giant Steps or whatever, you know, like these crazy jazz standards have all these twists and turns, and then, you know, you get into like I remember an ensemble room at Berkeley, I don't know who it was, it's like, okay, play one chord.
Right.
Right, just groove, you know, like what is it? Now see what you can play over that.
Right.
That's
you
the
know,
challenge
just one thing
sometimes.
and keep and right. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but sometimes you can't get too caught up in the what's going on around you. You got to come up with something that, yeah. I mean, just make music, man. Make music. It doesn't have to be all kinds of fancy circumstances
Right.
around it.
But right, and what I wanted to add to that is that what I keep coming back to is, you know, just the premise of just not really worrying about whether anybody else is going to like it, and just instead write what I'm hearing, and then just try to be truthful about it, try to be honest about what it is I'm actually hearing, and then you know, if I do any editing, what I try to do is what I end up often doing pretty often is I'll write a song, and then I'll work on taking away everything that's not absolutely necessary, and I find that process really helps me sort of drill down to what the true essence of the tune needs to be, you know. Sometimes that can be incredibly hard to do, though. you
It's just
know?
melody.
Yeah.
Forget about all your chops and licks and this, you know, what's wrong with it? Like, Julie just wrote a song, Necessary Scars, right? And the chorus goes something like, Necessary Scars, right? Something
Yeah.
like that. But the melody's like,
Who would I be without them? These are necessary scars, necessary scars. Who would I be? Who would I be without them?
but just that melody, Necessary Scars, that right? Like, that just got into my head, you know?
I
Yeah.
always
And-
write in
and it's-
pentatonic melodies.
Right, but
I don't know why.
it's I'm sure you weren't, when you wrote that song, you weren't like, oh, I'm gonna get something that's gonna be an earworm. You just came up with it as just something you thought was cool and you dug and you wrote the song.
It
But
was
it turned
actually
out
for
to
an
be,
assignment.
yeah,
I
but
had to write something with the post-chorus.
I
and had
guess
never
just
done-
in response to what John said, it's the melody. It's a melody.
Yeah.
That's right.
And a melody doesn't have to be complicated.
Even
Me-
all those Steely Dan songs, that's what I've noticed. John's practicing them all the time, but there's such complex chords changes, but you can sing the melody over it.
Correct.
It feels very simple, but it's not at
Yeah.
all. So
And
I
I'm
love
not
that.
saying that things have to be simple all the time, right? I'm just saying that always keep in the back, at least I always keep in the back of my mind, it's like we have a tendency to want to do something spectacular, right?
Yeah.
When we all write and play, we want to do something that's go to paths that have been uncharted, or
Right.
we all want to do something that's like, you know,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
like intellectual or whatever. But it's like, what about the song Joe Cocker, "You Are So Beautiful"? Right? There's a song, right?
That's
Oh my
beautiful.
You
God.
are so beautiful. That's all he says. There's like when you study lyrics or in songwriting, right? But that's the whole song is just him saying, you know, you are so beautiful, and that's it. And it's one of the greatest songs,
Yeah.
saying the same thing over and over again,
I
right?
love that.
Yeah. So it's about melody and it's about simplicity, and I'm not. And again, that's not to say that complicated or complex or weird things can't be cool too. It's just, it doesn't. When you set out to do something or make music or write a song, it doesn't have to be something crazy. It can just be something real simple and it's cool.
Yeah. It's about the emotion.
Exactly. You know, and sometimes, you know, but then there's the Frank Zappa approach, where, you know, I read an interview with Frank Zappa, and
Oh,
one
man,
of the things
Zappa.
one of the things he said was the music I write is only meant to amuse me and nobody else.
Okay.
You know,
So he wrote it
and
for his own pleasure.
Yeah.
Complex.
and you know, but for him it was like, you know, making it complex was what for him made it interesting. You know.
Well, I mean, when you have a brain like his, or like Donald Fagen's, or like Alan Holdsworth, or like even like Eddie Van Halen, these are people that have I mean, in my opinion, and just a different level. They're savant level
Yeah.
of intellect, right, musically.
Yeah.
So it's hard to compare, like,
Well-
at least me as a mortal, what I do,
A
know,
mortal.
compared to the aforementioned folks. I only, I know my
Yeah,
lane
yeah,
and I know
David.
my limitations, right?
Yeah, did somebody say something? Who was?
I don't know.
Oh,
Bad boy. Bad.
There's somebody
Joshua
here.
is talking.
Somebody join?
Oh, where's Joshua?
Oh, Joshua.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I didn't realize that my speaker was on.
Yeah, we don't see you on the screen. You must not be sharing your video, and that's okay. Feel
yeah,
free
I will,
to jump in or not.
I've just partaken in all the conversation, but I am on my way to work. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, thank you so much for joining us.
How you doing?
Yes, thanks for the invite. I'm doing great. This is
Excellent.
You guys are a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, there it is. Okay, you got it.
Well, we like to do this gathering once a month to just kind of create a community, bounce ideas off of each other, get better together, right? Share cool ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, you know, basically, you know, like all of us are just trying to get better. You know, that's kind of the starting point. So we got into a great conversation last time, which kind of made me want to ask the question to everybody. And I'd love to hear everybody's insight on this. What do you do? What does your normal practice routine look like? And I'll start. My normal practice routine, there isn't one. What I do is, what I practice really depends on what's in front of me. Like if I have a gig next week, then I'm going to practice the tunes I have to play for next week. If in the process of practicing, I notice that there's some technical things that I'm missing, then I might create some exercises or activities that help me improve on a particular area. You know, for example, one of the things that I spend a pretty fair amount of time on is metronome work, because just for the simple reason, one of the things I've learned is that I don't 100% trust my sense of time. I have a good sense of time, but I've learned that I can't trust it. So practicing with a metronome really helps keep me honest with that for some things. And there's a variety of things, either scales or exercises or grooves or any of that. So, so when I practice, it's kind of a mix of practicing the tunes that are coming up, practicing weaknesses in my playing, leaving some time for just sort of creative noodling, like play a little game. One thing I will do sometimes is pick a really complicated chord and see how many different voicings I can find on the guitar, and for that chord, and that helps me exercise the brain part. Or I might pick an emotion and just try to create the emotion, or write a lick, or something like that. Yes. Go
All
ahead,
right,
Phil.
all right. No, because he's always got my wheels spinning. So I have to isolate the time thing, right? Because, like, does everybody here in this guitar form have a looper? A looper? Okay.
Yeah.
And not one of those fancy ones that automatically quantizes and gets you the right. I'm
I
talking
didn't know
about.
they made those.
Yeah.
One of those.
That thing will mean by that is, I've done gigs where I'm the only guitar, right? Like me singing either solo or with like a female singer or something like that, and I'll lay down a chord progression, and you got to kind of start and stop it exactly, and it is really amazing revelation because you start getting into a chorus and you start to get more intense and you get more excited about the music and you want to speed up. And then sometimes when it's more of a mellow thing, or we have a tendency to drag, right? So I just had to isolate the thing about the time and playing with the because I always thought I had good time. Because the bands, and I was always, like when we would play Sweet Home Alabama, Bob Gay would, right? So he would press on his keyboard, he'd go, boom, boom, boom. And he'd be like, Phil, and he said, he's like, you do that pretty much the same exact feel and tempo every single time, right? So I was always flattered
that's
by
good.
that. So I'm like, I must have good time. But boy, did things reveal to me later when I throw the metronome on and I'm trying to play along and I'm just speeding up and slowing down or trying to catch up, and it feels, the music that we feel within us, it can feel real weird when you have to keep on a certain beats per
Yes.
minute, right? So.
Yeah, that's part of what I was getting at, is that, like I love to play music so much that I start getting excited when I play something.
And you want to speed up, right?
And
Maybe
getting
not you,
excited
but,
like that
yeah.
makes me want to rush.
Yeah, exactly.
And playing live.
Does that
too.
happen with
You're
you guys out there too? That you tend to like to rush on when like louder, faster, kind of excited things?
Yeah. So Julie, what about you?
practicing.
Yeah, your practice routine. What does that
Well,
look like?
well, I want to share this email that I got the other day.
By the way,
And my practice.
I get to be a fly on the wall when she practices. What she does.
Is there a lot of swear
she-
words?
Well, but in the middle of all of it, I've watched her, learn some of the most difficult things in an incredibly short period of time. How the hell do you do it?
Well, I mean that's the whole thing. Because I'm a Virgo and I'm a perfectionist, so we get kind of caught up in that, right? The details, and also feeling like I suck. It's really hard to get that over and over again. So I think successful, I like to plan ahead. I like to get a handle of what I want to accomplish, and I like to feel like I'm in control of the outcome. And John is always saying, you're putting in the work, trust the process. Because sometimes I'm like, I'm never gonna get it. Like
Yeah.
that Bach thing that we did with Joe Santer.
Oh my God.
During
Yeah,
the
so,
pandemic, he wanted to do this. What are they called?
just one, like
Sonatas?
one of the inventions.
Inventions.
Right. So he was doing them all, and so he invited us to do it, and I was like, cool, they're all beautiful. And he's like, but I want to do it at this tempo. So every day I was like,
And the tempo
It was
that
so
he
hard.
came back with was like, you've got to be joking. You're joking. You're
it
joking,
was just
right?
past what I was capable of,
Yeah.
But in the end, I got it. We were able to do it. But it takes, it's not a microwave thing. You have to be the crock pot to get better.
Yeah,
That's what I
wow.
found.
How about
know,
just playing along with stuff? That's what I do when I
Playing
practice.
songs.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just put on a song I like, and I'll try to cop the guitar part. I'll just play right along with it. And on my YouTube, I have a lot of play-alongs
Yeah,
that
I
I've
do that
done.
a lot.
Where I
me
try to
too.
get the exact sound and to play the solo note for note and stuff like that. So I think that's a great thing to do
Should
when
we
you
share
practice.
your YouTube in the chat?
If
Yeah.
you'd like to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys can all see it.
But yeah, I mean, you can't discount just when you hear all the great musicians like Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton and Jimmy, all the British kind of guitar players.
Yeah.
They said that they would have their record players and they would just keep on speeding it up and they'd listen to the blues records and they would just
They're
play it
playing
over and
note for
over
note.
and just play along with, you know, the 50s guys. The who's it? Scotty Moore, the guy that was on the Elvis albums. Cliff Gallup, and a lot of those guys just played along with it. That's how they learned. There was no fancy lessons or anything like that. There was no Berkeley. It was just
You gotta
playing
play
along.
by ear.
Just
There
play-
were-
just
there
play
were
along with the
tabs,
record.
Ultimate guitar.
Well, playing along with the record, and a lot of them had lessons from Big Jim Sullivan too, who's a hell of
There
a
you go.
player, right? You know,
yeah. But anyway, what John said, you know, how do you practice? Well, just put on a song, play along, play it. Just
Yeah.
play it. You know, play something you like. Play the solo. Like I wanted to learn the solo to. I heard it the other day. It's escaping me. It's a great guitar solo. Oh, the solo to, you know the song "Still the One"? Yeah. It's E, I think. You guys heard that song? We're still together after. Check out that guitar solo and some of the harmony lines in that, John.
Yeah.
It's a
killer.
fantastically melodic, awesome guitar solo, and I heard it. I'm like, you know what? I just want to learn that, and I'm
Yeah.
going to learn that. I'm going to post that. That's my
Okay.
next one. I just heard it. I'm like, but you hear something that catches your ear and that interests you. Just when it comes to practicing, just throw it on and learn it.
Yep, that's true.
I
You
think
know?
an important aspect of that is to learn the whole song.
Exactly. The
know?
leads, the rhythm, if there's a couple of different guitar tracks, there's an acoustic track panned hard left, learn that.
Yeah.
And then learn the electric thing that's complementing or embellishing it. Like it's
Learn the
cool, man. Yeah,
harmonies,
like
yeah.
learn it note for and then that sinks into you. I
Yeah.
think that's huge. Just play along with stuff and learn it, transcribe it.
Yeah.
And you can even I mean if you want to get real fancy, you can write it out, right?
That's how you really know it. Because then you can see the relationship to the chord.
Yeah,
think?
the notes take it.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
much free time you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dustin,
Takes
what do
me
you got?
forever.
You
so
got
I was
something?
just going to say to your point about learning things by ear. I'm a big fan of Richie Blackmore, especially his Rainbow Days, Man on the Silver
yeah.
Mountain. Like, so if you
Love
go
it.
to the Man on the Silver Mountain solo and you try to play that thing like I did for so many years off of sheet music, off of literally trying to read it, it doesn't rhythmically fall sort of into place because it was something he made up on the spot. Like, it falls in this really weird rhythmic sort of thing. And to your point, I got more out of actually just listening to it and trying to cop it note
Yes.
for note
Yeah.
than ever trying to learn it off the sheet music. After many years of trying, you bring up a great point with that.
So when I was a student, my teacher, Bill Levitt, gave the best possible
Legend.
definition of reading. And his definition of reading was to play the music by ear that you see on the page. So and that really changed how I looked at the sheet music because, you know, in our heads, we think, well, if I spend enough time practicing reading sheet music, I'll be able to just kind of look at it and and be able to put my finger in the in the right spot. So when I do that, why doesn't it sound like music? Well, it turns out that if you're thinking musically, and then you're looking at the symbols and trying to imagine what that symbol would sound like, and then playing the sound that you hear in your head, everything changes about your relationship to reading.
Yes.
But it takes a while. That takes a while to get there. It really does. But I mean, but to your point, I mean, I think I don't feel like it's terribly important how you get there. I think what matters is that you get there. You know, so however, all roads lead to Rome, literally. Like,
Yes.
I
like
love
if you're
that.
learning something, yeah,
I love that, John, because I am a guy who started out with like tab online,
right,
then studied classical music, went to sheet music, and then found that in my particular learning style, and I think to your point, everybody has their own learning style.
Mm-hmm.
I
yep,
get a lot more out of, you know, auditory training and actually
sure,
studying, trying to cop someone else, and maybe coming up with my own variation upon that, as opposed
yeah.
to going straight off the sheet music. But to
Yeah.
your point, everybody learns differently, and um, each of those inputs adds to the structure of the whole thing.
Well, the other thing too is, a big part of it kind of depends when it comes to reading. A part of it, I think, kind of depends on, how you tend to move forward as a musician. Like, if you're going to try to make a living just being a guitar player, then my opinion is that learning to read really well will be essential, for the simple reason that somebody who reads really well can learn music much faster. I mean, I've had periods of my career where I would have like 6 gigs in a week, and every night was different.
Yeah.
And there's no way I'm going to memorize all that music.
That's
So,
like Kenny Aronoff, the drummer.
Yeah.
You guys all familiar with who he is?
yeah,
He's a first call. You'll see him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. You'll see him on tour with every major artist. You'll see him, that guy, everywhere. The reason being, they call him the day of the gig.
right.
And he can
Wow.
literally, when Jason Bonham left the Van Halen tribute with Sammy Hagar, and
He
he
filled
came in like that day and nailed it. And
Right.
he says that what he does is he charts everything.
He
Right.
makes charts.
And if
Oh,
you
wow.
look at him playing the drums on any given gig, he's got a stand pretty much all around his, and he doesn't write the beats specifically. He just makes maps
Yeah.
and
Right.
cues, and he has kind of his own language.
Right.
And that's
You
when
can
I'm on
step
a
in and play a gig in a day.
right. And
I mean,
when
that's it.
I'm not a great sight reader. I'm really not. I mean, I can read some chords, I can read down a chart and get my way. But when I'm on a gig and I'm in that situation, I map it out. I have a way of
Right.
mapping out and writing little notes and hits and
Right.
chords. And that works better for me than like having to sight read a ton of notes
Yeah.
and things like that. I'd
But
probably
that-
fall on my face.
Yeah, but that's
hard.
also, that's also not to say that you can't become a great musician and never read a note. I also think that's possible. I just think, I just feel like, my experience has been that if I'm being a Mr. Freelance, hired gun guitar player.
Oh yeah,
Being able to read,
being able to read has
serves
helped
you.
me
Sure.
enormously.
it's hard
so-
too because it's not like a piano where all the notes are in front of you. And like what's hard about reading guitar music if you don't have a tab or something like that? How many different places are there to see?
Right.
Yeah.
Right off
It's
the bat, I
important to
found
know
5
them all.
different
Different ones,
places
yeah.
to play the same damn note.
can play
So
it
it's like
all.
if I'm looking at a passage where I have to play that, I'm like, do I start here?
Which one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
right.
it's like you got to think about a million things right off the bat. Where and how are you going to play? Because guitar is an instrument where you can play the same note in too many different places.
Yeah.
I know. I've learned songs, maybe like the Stairway to Heaven solo, where I play a riff
Nice.
and then I see Jimmy Page. I'm like, whoa, he plays it differently than I do.
Well,
'Cause
especially,
we learn it by
yeah.
ear,
That's right.
but it doesn't matter, does
Yeah.
it?
So Josh, how do you practice? Are you still? Is Josh still there? Oh, he's not
He
there.
took off.
Okay, he's gone. Okay, never mind. Sorry, Josh. Zach,
Well,
how do you?
can I talk about this article that I
Yes,
read? Okay,
go ahead.
so have you guys heard of the
We'll get to you
bulletproof
after.
musician? Noah Kageyama. Anyway, I get his newsletters, and I think he has a beautiful performance group that he puts together regularly throughout the year where you learn how to get the most of your performance. But anyway, he's a classical musician. But there's this really cool study that they did in 2021, and they took a bunch of piano students and they said, we're going to give you 2 hours 1 hour one day, 1 hour the next day to learn 2 pieces. And they weren't super hard, but they had some technically challenging things. And so they went, I think it was maybe 100. And then they'd have to make a video of each practice session and then send a video of the final performance. And then they would give them grades. So distinction was 75 to 84 points. The middle ranked pianist received credit of 65 to 74, and the bottom ranked pianist received pass. And so what did they do? The top players, you actually see them on their videos. I didn't watch their videos, but they thought ahead about what their goal was during those 2 hours. They started out by playing the entire piece all the way through, whereas some of the pianists, maybe in the lower group, they ended up spending too much time on one piece and then had to speed through the next piece. But a lot of the time that they spent, 25% of the time, was non-practice time. So they were putting marks on the charts so they could get the most expressive performance. So it's interesting to see the difference. I mean, you think, oh, playing an entire hour is going to make me a better player. It's going to make the piece sound better. But no, the planning, sometimes you get a greater benefit from it. And then they also asked the top performer, how did you learn to practice? And they said their teacher was always training them on their practice. Like, it's so important to say, how are you practicing? What's going on in your practice? You know, because that's the time when you're going to accomplish anything. We spend more time practicing than we do anything else, right? The gig is like 2 hours,
precious because you got everything else going on in your life. So
Yeah.
the precious time that we have to practice, you better make the best of it.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time. I have a regular, job, and I have gigs, and I have a family life and everything like that. And when I actually get the chance to sit in my studio, I mean, I go hard. I mean, I'll start picking up the guitar. I'm sure everybody here does this, and it's like whatever. Say it's noontime, and then all of a sudden I look, and then it's like 6 p.m. Like
Right.
the time goes by so fast, right? Because once you start digging in, and you're digging your tone, you got your sound, you're doing stuff you're really into. The time just flies, man.
I know, and I've seen these lists. These are the things you need to practice every day. Arpeggios, scales, chords, modes, play over backing tracks, do these exercises,
Yeah,
How
but you
are
can't do
gonna-
too much though.
No, I mean, I
think-
want to play
yeah.
the songs.
Right.
I
Yeah.
want to learn the songs. I want to get better. And I do exercises. I am a little bit addicted to scales and things like that. But I find that they don't teach me how to play the songs. They help me with dexterity, that sort of thing. But
In the ears.
the ears. But if
Yeah.
I learned so much from learning the guitar solo from weight. I'd never bent like that and tapped like that before. Or maybe even the solo from Sister Christian.
Oh gosh.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
you know?
Beautiful solo.
And those types of solos inform my playing, and maybe I draw more from them than just scales.
Yeah. I don't think we heard from Zachary or Liam as far as their practice routines.
Oh yeah, let's hear about your practice.
I'm probably pretty similar to John. I mean, I have this big mentality that some is better than none. So if I have like 30 minutes in between students or stuff like that, I'll just try to throw in a backing track like you mentioned, and then just try to play
Oh, I
over
do
it and have
love
fun
that.
with that. Sometimes I'll play little games with myself. So like I'll pick a note, like say like E highest that I can on the fretboard, just see if I can go down the E minor scale or something like that, all the way down to low E. Just little things like that. Or maybe I'll do triads and just keep upping the tempo until I, find a spot where I get stuck. But just stuff like that, where I try to make it a little fun for myself, or just to get 5 minutes, because it's better than 0.
Yes, I always
Yeah.
tell my students it's better to practice 5 minutes a day than an hour once.
You know what I really love about what you just said, Zachary? That you talked about the entire fretboard from the lowest note to the highest note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was going to Berkeley and when I was learning guitar when I was a kid, it was a lot about position playing.
Right.
It was about how do you play a scale. It's about going straight across the neck, right?
Right.
Or what's this position or that, and it's like, and then as things developed, and this is what Zachary's point is, it's like, stop thinking that way. It actually kind of hurt me.
It's like
Because
putting a fence.
yeah, so it's like from the lowest E to whatever you know, the highest E
Yeah,
up
yeah.
here. That's the position,
Right. It's
right?
all.
And we all know Alan Holdsworth, right? We've heard of Alan Holdsworth.
Yeah.
And have you guys ever checked out his instructional videos online?
I'm afraid to.
It's just I was laughing with. If you guys want to get a popsicle headache,
Brain
watch-
freeze.
watch some. He has his own system of music.
Yeah.
With like
Yeah.
his own symbols and his own scales, and his scales are not like major or minor. They're all based on the intervals between
They're
the notes.
fourths,
He's like, yeah, I got this scale. It's 3 notes and then a whole step, and then 3 notes and then, and he just has this whole bizarre like
And then he
out
makes
system.
chords out of
But
those
what
shapes,
right? But to Zachary's point, and what I really liked about what he said is, it's all like his chart. It's the whole neck. It's not a
Right.
position. It's
That's
not up this way, down this way, across this way. It's this is the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And I love that approach.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a big thing, and you mentioned it spot on. Where, like when I was even like practicing with John, like he would give me stuff as backing tracks to listen to, and one of the first things that I noticed when I was trying to improv was that I would always stick in a box all the time, and
Right.
I could never feel comfortable moving out of it on the spot. Like if you gave me time to really think about other positions, I could get there, but it wasn't like I was never sliding. So what I would try is I would just go like that one that I told you about is I would just basically pick the highest string, start going down, and then just randomly say switch, and then just go to the next string and see how many times I can do
yeah.
that until I get back to low E. So that way I can try to map out different spots. And John, what we used to do were like when I was getting ready for the audition and you showed me like all the 2 octave scales for modes and stuff like that, like eventually I started putting those together and started seeing patterns on the fretboard, and then you kind of pick and choose,
Right.
and you kind of see it, and you kind of guide your ear too while you're doing that. Like it's not just the positions, you kind of just hear whether I need to go down a major
Well, to
second or a
me-
minor second.
Yeah, and to me, a big part of that, it's not about the fingerings, it's about the sound that you're trying to access.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
It sounds so magical and mystical, but once
Yeah.
you see it, it's like your brain just kind of goes, woo, wide
Yeah.
angle.
Yeah, and Tomo Fujita, I took some lessons from him, and one of the exercises he gave me that kind of was a game changer for me was the 3 notes per string thing,
Right.
where you just you'd say like take like an F scale and you
Yeah.
and you just play 3 notes, but and then you kind of slide up, so 3 notes per string
Yeah.
on every scale up and down, and you cover the whole neck. So I
And
mean,
you
just
see
just
where
as
those
far as
ones
getting it
overlap.
under your fingers,
Yeah.
I thought the 3 notes per string thing really helped expand,
Yeah.
that positional mentality, you know.
You know what helped me was Joe Satriani when he does these. Because other you just do one string, on the,
Yeah. Just on one string.
and then
yeah.
you're in tune with what is it going to be, whole step or half step next, and you just all of a sudden you do it. I can't explain it, but it takes repetition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's
oh, no,
like
that's
it's like up, down, across, but then there's also this way,
Yes.
and then there's this way from this high F here to this F, right? There's like you can kind of like draw this way,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so
You and
Yeah.
I were
there's
doing
different
an
things,
exercise.
and the two
yeah.
note the 2 note per string thing kind of takes you this
Oh,
way,
pentatonic
Right.
yeah.
or diminished.
Yeah, like you could take a pentatonic and just go across 2 sets of string. So if I start here,
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're kind of going that way, right? Yeah. Yeah, nice. I love it. Liam, what about you? What's your practice routine?
Well, it's kind of like John's. Like I don't have one really. It's in need of one.
Preparing for your next gig, probably.
Well, if I had gigs, that'd be nice. But right
Oh,
now
whatever.
I'm like so busy. I've been doing a master's program at Berkeley, and I work full time. So, but what I have been doing at work is on my 15-minute breaks, I play. So, and that usually ends up being, I've got that little Spark amplifier. It's the one that's really
oh, I
the
know the
little,
one you mean. It's like a Bluetooth
Yeah, it's-
Headphones.
backing bag.
yeah, it's like a
backing
USB, it's like a Bluetooth speaker size, and it sounds amazing. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because you got an app with it, so you can dial in all sorts of effects or whatever you want on it. But but I'll usually throw on a backing track. I've got all of John's, tracks. Like I'll throw on Scatterbrain and play that, or a lot of times I'll just throw on like backing tracks from YouTube, and I'll just try to, solo and kind of like your point earlier, when you were talking about like keep it simple. A lot of times, it's like you want to find those cool notes and play out a little bit and all this jazz, and I'm just like, I really like playing good notes. So
Yeah.
I try not to be like, oh, I suck because I'm just playing the good notes. It's like, no, I'm trying to
Nothing wrong
be
with
more
that.
interesting and
Yeah, you don't have to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be going crazy with out there stuff.
Yeah,
All that.
so
Although when you hit that stride and you can do it, I mean, it's really awesome.
Throw
But
it in.
Yeah. Well, I think once I get going, maybe I can throw in some interesting things, but I just try to shoot more for let me get some kind of melody going, and see if I can just play around off that. Because the bottom line is, no one cares about that. Like when people come hear you, no one knows. Like it's only the musicians that are going to be like, oh, he doesn't really play any interesting notes. But the other people, the majority of people who are going to buy your music are the ones that are like, where's the melody?
Right,
Like
the
he's
melody,
playing all these
right.
weird notes that sound wrong. Like, why is he doing that? So
Right.
is
But-
Scatterbrain the one that goes?
it's the
Okay.
And then the main head.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy's just like, yeah, on my break I'll just play that, for. I like that, Liam. Yeah, no problem. He's like, yeah. Then I'll go
15
into some
minutes.
Zappa and some Eruption. I'll play some.
Yeah.
I'll have my lunch and then I'll play, Peaches and Regalia and yeah,
Right.
I love it.
But the one thing I gotta do is, like, I have some songs that I've recorded, but I want to get some real drums on it, so I need to go back to those and really learn those, because I'm probably gonna go to a friend of mine's and record those with real drums
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get those
And
down.
so do you have the original recording set to a click?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's all
Okay.
because it's just a drum track on there.
Because what I was going to say was I've actually had really pretty good luck with taking the track that has the fake drums, strip out those fake drums, and replace it with some kind of like a tempo map. If it's different time signatures, just have it mark the different time signatures, and then give that to the drummer.
Yeah.
I've had really good luck doing it that way, especially if you're working with a drummer that knows how to do that. They can make it absolutely convincing, and then all you have to do is when you get their recordings, just mute out the the click track thing that you created.
Yeah.
And then just import that into the rest of your project. I've had really good luck doing that, actually.
Yeah.
In fact, I was gonna. Here's a good example of it. Before we go, we were gonna jam on a Mixolydian track. Let me share it with you guys.
All right, while you're dialing that up, can I talk about something real quick? So one of the things I had in mind when I was graciously invited for this guest spot here, a lot of this stuff we've been talking about has been leading up to this, right? Simplicity,
Yes.
going all the way back to the beginning of string instruments, whether it's banjo and that is when you go back to the really early, I guess, American music. It's Dixieland, New Orleans. A lot of these jug bands and banjo bands or whatever, they were just playing one chord and moving it around. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like,
Constant structure.
it's the same chord. Right? They're just moving the same chord around.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, and they created some of the coolest, things. And then I know you want to put your thing on, but real quick, one of the things I wanted to talk about today was blues. All right, so what's the first thing that a lot of kids learn when they get in there? Okay, let's learn a 12-bar blues, right? And they go to like an E or an F, whatever it is, and then they say, okay, now just do the same thing on this set of strings, right? So you go to E, right? And now move it over to this set of strings. Wrong. Wrong. All right, so anybody that watches this, right? There's a song called Honky Tonk by Bill Doggett. It's an old standard, and it's an F, and it's like to this B flat, okay? Everything on the bottom strings.
Because then you don't have to learn new shapes.
Right? Everything on the bottom strings. All right? Now, my point about all of this is kids, when you learn, it's like, no, just move it over to the A, to the, no. That's how you get that sound, because you're on the bottom strings.
Yeah,
Or you
that's
could just
true.
take one shape or one chord and move it around, and it's like creates this nice uniform sound,
And then
right?
it's always the same shape.
Yeah, there's a song called Caroline by a band called Status Quo, which was a big, no, not that one. But it's a song by, this band called Status Quo that's a British band. They never really made it big. But it's just like a boogie woogie blues. And they're always like, oh, you don't want to play all the way. These are like the bad notes of the guitar, on the bottom.
right? Yeah.
And the guy, when he fires off the song, it's a blues, it's like a boogie woogie blues in F. He's like, and it's like so
But it's not
cool
your-
because it's just those notes down there, that harshness or
specific
whatever
sound, yeah.
right, that harshness or whatever you're talking about, that's in that part of the, the bottom strings and the low and the high
It's
part of the neck.
pretty.
Yeah. So there you go. I said my 2 cents. That was they said Phil, what do you want to talk about? Like, what idea do you want to bring? And that's it, man. Just like, just keep everything on the bottom strings. Sometimes, not always,
Go for the
but
sound.
but yeah. All right, there's
Oh,
my
I
thing.
love that.
Well, I mean, I think the main message is really pay attention to the way it sounds.
And how
know.
it makes you feel.
Yeah, but I would have never thought that. Learning and being taught like, oh no, the nice part of the notes are in this part of the neck, and because you can play these notes up here like the high A on the E string here. It's like these notes can sound kind of clunky,
Yeah.
but if you use them right, I mean, if you just
Nothing
use
but a
them
good
right,
time
that's
by
kind of
choice.
cool,
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I don't know.
Okay, so I posted both a couple of things in the chat. One was Phil's YouTube channel, and the second is the backing track that I'm about to play.
If you guys
So-
want to play along at home,
Yeah. So there's 2 sections to it. So it's called Mixolydian. So first it starts in D Mixolydian, so the chords are D to C, or C9, I guess, C add 9, I guess. The G5 back to D. Okay.
for Phil,
It's
should
not
we play
Sweet
it
Home
here?
Alabama.
Yeah. Right.
We'll play it like that. What
Right.
do you?
With the
Play
delay.
it just on the top
On the,
low
on
string.
the bottom 2 strings.
Yeah, right there you go.
And then, so we'll do that a bunch of times.
See, I
and
like
then
it. Yeah, I like
Sounds
that.
better,
Yeah,
sounds
see,
better.
that's my point, right?
yeah.
Love it.
So then the second section is A Mixolydian. So go A to a G chord with an A in the bass.
Love that.
Then D over A bass note. Back to A.
Love it. Love that.
Oh my gosh! You
I
know
just
what
wrote
that
a
is?
song that kind of has that in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. So you'll hear the drummer do a big old drum fill when it changes keys.
1, 2, 1, 2,
So
3.
how's the balance?
Turn up the music a little bit. Something I like to do, like. Then over position. You jump
Yeah.
Fun.
So for one of the things I like to do sometimes is to just kind of write a backing track that it's not quite like a song, but it's like almost like a song, but not really.
I agree.
And then just use it as a platform to just practice improvising.
And you could do it on your with the your chords and loop it.
Yeah.
Just play like a cool progression, like. And just whatever you want, the 3-4 chords, and
Yeah.
and then you just solo over that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So
I love that.
practice approach.
Yeah.
The looper rocks.
And one of the things I was thinking about on the bridge, little bridge section, the B section with
Yeah.
it's so funny because I just wrote a song that has a similar thing.
Yeah.
And what's wrong, with all the thousands and thousands of songs, at least that I've played, with so many bands, it's like one note,
Yeah.
right? Like that section of the A, that little section. Well, what's wrong with just like, it kind of like you can play one note, right? And it just drives it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's so cool because you think about a song like "I Want You Back," Jackson 5, right? The whole
Yeah.
section on it is like right, and it's that one note, it's that one thing, but it just drives the song like crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
so rather than thinking about all this complicated stuff,
Keep it simple.
maybe one note works in certain things. I mean, it's actually the best thing.
Do this.
Yeah.
Do that.
Which octave? Which note?
A.
Yeah. I mean, all that. There's so many examples of that, but like, yeah. And then so sometimes you're trying to find the right thing, and you're like, I think Liam was saying actually earlier about how you were playing with the keyboard player in your band, and he was doing so many things, and you were struggling because you don't want to like step on each other. Sometimes that arrangement, because the guitar and the keyboard occupy that kind of same middle ground. So sometimes if there's a really busy keyboard player, what I'll do is just
Yeah.
and just kind of pop and just do like a single note thing that just
One of our-
just kind of and more of a rhythmic thing that matches the bass and the drums. If the keyboard player is doing a lot of chords and stuff,
We had a
Yeah,
song
but I
that
really-
did exactly that. I was just playing like a, and then I played octaves later, like
exactly. But this, and it's
because
we're
it
not
worked
trying to
over all
impress
the
anybody.
chords like you were doing. Just
I'm
the-
glad you brought that up because we've all been in bands where there's a lot of salad, man,
Yeah.
and you don't always have to. Sometimes the best thing to play is nothing.
And something as simple as that is what someone's going to grab onto. That's the hook. So it ends up
Exactly.
being the most important thing to listen to.
Yeah, at the
Someone can
end,
grab
yeah,
onto
at
it.
the end of the day, when it comes to things like that, I feel like, I feel like our job as musicians is to listen to everything else that's going on around us, and then try to think of something that hopefully adds to what's going on. And one choice, there was a jazz piano player that I used to work with quite a bit, and this guy was a brilliant, rest in peace, but he was a brilliant jazz piano player, and I loved and hated working with him. I loved it because listening to the guy was like I would just come away going, Jesus Christ, he's so good,
Yeah.
Anything he plays.
But I hated working with him because he
filled in
was
all the space.
all elbows.
Yeah.
Like there was no room for me to do anything. So I would kind of listen to him play, and then just occasionally drop in.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing, right? Everybody knows that song, "Oh What a Night," Frankie Valli,
Yeah,
and it's kind of like. Now, if you listen to that song, right, there's the coolest thing that comes in, and it's just this one little guitar line. It goes, play the rhythm to that for a second. This is the. Right? That's it. Just those three notes. But it just
Yeah,
takes
yeah,
the
you're
song to this other, you know, it just kind of, it just, that little extra thing that takes the song forward, and it's so cool.
And if it wasn't there, it would be missing.
Yeah, I just love this topic about how, you know, and nobody, and a lot of people are going to be like, they're trying to dumb everything down and oversimplify music. It's like, no, less can, that's a cool message for today's thing. It's like less can be more, you know, and sometimes it's just one little thing that just, like in the Steely Dan song, Gaslighting Abbey, there's that little, you know what I'm talking about?
Right, yeah.
There's like a little envelope filter thing, and it's just in the background, but it just pushes the groove so hard. And that's
really
what I
does.
really love, is that one little thing that could just be like, yeah, that's it. That little, you know, final ingredient in the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, one more on that. If you watch, like, Steve Lukather has always talked about human nature, and when they brought that to him,
Yes.
they're like, what are you gonna do with it? And it was a similar part, just that little, like, whatever he was doing, that just kind of rhythmic.
And the
one
Billie
note.
Jean, you mean? And is that the?
Human nature.
Human
No,
nature.
human
I'm
nature.
sorry.
It was like that, just simple little line that he played over it, and I think it was just kind of one note, maybe a couple notes, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, well, it's like in Billie Jean. And when he goes,
Yeah.
and it's so simple, but so that's Luke too, I think, doing that whole thing.
Oh, it
But
must have been.
yeah, because you could be tempted to do some really, whatever, you know, more complicated or syncopated thing. It's just coming, and oftentimes the simplest thing is the most difficult thing,
That's true.
right?
Playing
Like,
it in time, just like what
yeah,
we were
the
talking
right
about.
hand, right?
The
Like
groove.
And committing to it.
I was in a band with Baron Brown, the bass player, for a
Yep.
while, and he was all about that. He's like, we'd play a song like At Last, and he'd be like, just, you know, At Last. He's just be like, no, just play.
Yeah.
And keep it right there like a robot, like a machine.
Then
That's
the
actually,
vocalist can
it's really
slide over
hard
it.
to do, man.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really hard to do a consistent rhythmic thing, you know, like just like what is it? My Girl, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that classic arranging of the
yeah.
Motown, where one's doing the single line, kind of doubling the bass, and the other one's just doing 2 and 4 rhythm. That's what made that music so beautiful, though, because it was so simple yet so effective, and it's not that easy to go like this
Nope.
the same way and have the same attack with your right
Every
hand every
time.
time. It is not easy at all.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's really a great point. Yeah, very
Right
cool.
on. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah.
Phil,
Thank you for
so-
your nuggets.
I'm so excited because I don't get to talk or hang guitars a lot anymore, and I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm overzealous, but I'm just
No,
so
no,
I'm
no.
so
We feel your
excited and so happy to
enthusiasm.
be here and talk
Yeah.
about all this stuff because I
We're
love it.
stoked.
You haven't seen us we're all
I'm gonna take
nerding out
a
over this.
selfie. Ooh.
We're all overzealous for Guitar Club because I think everybody that comes here doesn't get to talk guitar like this very often. So we're all in your same boat, my friend.
We get a little bit nerdy.
Yeah, like who would ever get like
Okay,
so excited
right.
about this? Who would ever get so excited about
Right.
just doing this all night?
Me.
I'm
It's really
excited.
great to meet you all, you guys, and hang out, man. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So what's the date? Do you want to pick the date for the next one?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
July's gonna be tough for me on a Monday.
So we have July 7th.
I'm gonna be doing those open mics every single Monday.
Well, who says we have to have it on a Monday? I mean, we can.
We could do Sunday or a Tuesday. Or are we gonna be doing experts? We could do July 6th.
So that's fine. But July 6th is it's a fly day for me, so we have to set it before that.
That's fine. Or do you want to do the 8th? Or are we going to be doing experts? What about, oh, you'll be camping on the 13th. And the 20th.
Let's do the 6th.
Okay.
Let's do the 6. Yeah.
John's flying, but we'll be able to.
Yeah, I'll
Set
be
it.
back before that because you know I'm taking
He's
a flying-
actually flying,
yeah. I'm
not
taking
just
a flying
taking
lesson
a
that day.
flight. He's
Wow.
flying.
Taken after Steve Morse.
Well,
Bruce
actually,
Dickinson.
you know what's interesting is my CFI is actually friends with Steve Morse.
Yeah.
And they, yeah,
He's got a lot of Steve Morse stories. He knows.
yeah.
He knows Steve.
I do know Steve Morse as well, but
Oh yeah, I know John has some Steve Morse stories because I did a couple lessons with Steve and yeah, I brought up that John knows Steve. So
oh, so you took lessons with Steve?
during the pandemic, yeah, he did a thing where he did video lessons online.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow, that
A
is
couple
great.
of lessons with him. It was really cool. Spent a lot of time picking his brain about how he harmonizes the lines. Like if you listen to like Great Mountain Spirits or
Sure.
some of those other things, he doesn't like high tension wires is big for me, and so is uh, the one with Great Mountain Spirits. But
Right.
he doesn't necessarily harmonize his lines in strict fourths or fifths or thirds. He comes up with counter melodies to harmonize the lines, and so we
Oh yes.
spent a lot of time talking about that, which was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a genius. He really is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very
Big,
unique.
big hero of mine.
Nice guy too. Like
And one of the things I just before we go, one of the stories that I want to share is one of the first times I actually got to perform on stage with him. We were talking earlier about this whole thing about how some musicians, have a way of lifting you up. We were playing an Allman Brothers tune. Steve and I were. We had a rhythm section with us, and
I'd like to hear that.
so we're playing the song in memory of Elizabeth Reed.
Ooh, I love it.
So I took my first solo, and when I did my solo, like he was playing rhythm guitar behind me, and everything that he did sort of felt like its purpose was to kind of push me to kind of go to the next place. Like I could hear myself very clear. He wasn't crowding the landscape at all. If anything, like he kept pushing me to do better.
Just
And then
building it dynamically.
yeah.
Oh,
So what it felt like is it felt like he was like kind of grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and pulled me up to his level, and I'm up there soloing, my feet are dangling off the ground, and he's
Yep.
sort of holding me up to, the feeling of it was like, okay, this is what it's like to function at my level, Then when it was his turn, what was so cool was that all it made me want to do is play rhythm guitar behind him in a way that was as supportive to him as what he was doing for me. And the point is, so many guitar players turn those into cutting contests, and he really didn't. Like his whole thing was, I want to make the best music I can with the people that I'm with.
Yeah.
And ever since that experience, it's really made me try to use that as an example of the like the bar that I want to try to hit. Like,
Pretty high bar.
Yeah.
I was jamming Elizabeth Reed with Steve Morse, and
Yeah, but just
yeah, that's that might be a pretty high bar to hit, but that's a good bar to aim for. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so July 6th, which is going to be a Sunday,
Yeah.
and then we'll do 7 p.m.
Perfect.
All right.
It's totally different. That's awesome.
Wait.
Oh no! See where he's going with this now. Oh, what's the B flat? I love the diagonal chord.
Oh yes. E
That's
minor,
right.
major 9.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And we will catch you next time.
Thank you
for-
guys. Real nice. I really had a great
Yeah.
time. Thank you.
Yeah,
Have
man.
fun practicing.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Have a good night.
You too.